Hi everyone, this is Sandy Create the Heart, and today I'm going to do a color me video. But right now I'm going to show you guys the Anya Reboot and all the different ways that I color the Anya's and her hair. So I started off just coloring like one or two girls, and then it ended up being 3 or 4 girls, and then I just ended up coloring all of them. So the one we're going to color together is the little girl that has all the flowers in her hair, that first one right there. And so we're going to color her, but in the meantime, I also colored this pretty little fairy, and I colored the little teacher, and the nurse. Let's see, our little, I don't even know, cute little girl right there. And then we've got the Anya with the coffee, and we have our cowgirl Anya, our princess Anya, and then our little star, she's a star, Anya. And so I had a lot of fun coloring up these girls, and now I have a bunch of girls to use for different projects. But we're going to color that little girl right there with the flowers in her hair. I'm going to set those aside. Anya Reboot, I got mine at the Greeting Farm pre-order, but I saw that there's a pre-order on Not Too Shabby Shop. You can use a link in my profile to get 10% off. It's a really good deal, and so I stamped her using Memento Black, Tuxedo Black. It's my favorite ink to use for Copics. And it might be getting a little speeding up right here. So what I like to do is I like to start with my dark, for my dark to light is usually how I do it. For her top part of her hair, it's BG34, BG23, and BG11. So I'm going to start with my darkest color, which is BG34, and that's the one that I'm going to start off with. And then I'm going to go dark from the top to light, but because her hair is kind of like it's kind of blocked off with these flowers, that you know, there will be some parts that I'm going to be doing dark that's near the bottom, like that little wave at the bottom, that's going to be dark as well. We've got dark on top, and it's just a little bit of color. So now I'm moving to my mid color, which is BG23, and I'm just kind of filling in, you know, the spaces are so small, but you know, my lightest color is BG11, and then I'm going to look at my my violet or my blue, my purple colors, and those are V17, BV11, and BV31. And I start at the bottom with the dark, and I want to end with light so that the light is near the top of the light of the green, so it doesn't look too crazy. And then I just fill it in with my lightest color. And so I went back in with my darkest color, V17, because I did want some parts of it to be a little bit darker. And then I went over it again with my middle and my light. Now for my flowers, it's RV29, RV25, and RV23. And what I did for the flowers is I just, from the center, there's like a centerpiece, I didn't color that. I did just flicks of the dark color. And so I did these flicks, and I did that with all the flowers. We just did these little flicks and through with RV 29. And then I went in with my RV25 and did flicks either over and between the darker colors. And then lastly I did RV23, and I did little flicks in the middle with RV25 and RV23. And so I left some white space around the edges of the flowers. I thought that kind of worked. And I use these similar RV colors for her dress and for the flower she's holding. Except for the flower she's holding, I believe I just did RV25 and RV23. So for her dress, I outline it in the RV29, and then I slowly pull the color through with the middle color of RV25, and then lastly with RV23. And these are such small spots to color that it really is very easy. You don't need to put a lot of color down. And so for her skin, it's starting with E13, and all I did was kind of outline places where I think the shadow is going to be. And then I'll go over that color and then pull that color more towards the middle with the E11. She's got a little bit of a darker color palette, but not much. And I just pull that in because it eventually dries too. You gotta remember that your ink will dry. And so once I've done the E11, then I finish off with E00 and just kind of pull all the color through. And there she is, all colored. And then I cut her out using my scissors. And I do like to do some white gel pen, but I usually wait till she's completely dry. Because if you do it right after you're done coloring, the white gel pen doesn't really take very well. And then I also went over it with some stickles, which I think really, you know, helps hide a lot of mistakes, but it gives it a little extra something. So I'm actually going to make three cards actually. Using some product from Not Too Shabby Shop. I'm using this tropical leaf stencil, and I'm using lunar paste for that. And so all you do is take that lunar paste and put it right over that stencil, and then you've got to let it dry. It dries fairly quickly. And then I'm also using these leaf stamps. They're tropical leaves are from the quarterly release from the Not Too Shabby Shop. And so I cut my stenciled piece down and I put it on black cardstock. I'm using Barely Arts glue to attach my stenciled piece, which I stenciled that lunar paste onto black. It's called Later Gator, the one that I used. And then I went ahead and I glued it onto a black mat. So I've got these leaves that I stamped and then I colored using my Copics, and then I actually have the dies for this particular one. And so I am going to put these leaves down and my little girl down to make a card. And that's going to go down there. Okay. And I really like the lunar paste. It goes on very creamy and dries fairly quickly. And it has a little bit of a raised look to it, so there's some dimension there. So I've got my leaves, and I'm going to kind of figure out where I want to place them, because my little girl is going to kind of be framed by these leaves. And so I envisioned her, because I had Hawaii on my mind, as like a little, you know, a little hula girl, or a little girl from the tropics, the islands. And so that's kind of how I colored her. But I saw someone color her making the flowers be like daisies, and so you really have a lot of options with this particular stamp set. So I really liked seeing that, so it gave me some other, you know, ideas of how to use her. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place my little leaves down, and now I've got my girl on some low profile foam tape. And I am using the Aloha sentiment, which is also from that Tropical Leaves stamp set. And I kind of cut down some of my foam tape so I can have that with a little dimension. It's going to go right on top of the little girl right there. So I also decided I had a little, you know, when I cut down everything to make cards, I had a little piece left. Actually, when I used my circle die to make a hole in the second card with I'm going to use for the little girl, I didn't want to throw that piece away. So I did do a white panel with the Later Gator paste using the tropical stencil. And so I also, you know, cut out the center with my circle die, and I kept that cut out. I'm going to use it for my tag. The other thing that I did was I was just trying out the new solar paste. So I used the overheated solar paste on black. And so my white panel with the circle cut out is going to go over that overheated solar paste. And I was just trying it out, but I don't really, you know, I don't know. I don't really like to waste, so I just try to find ways to use everything that I do. And so I'm going to go ahead. It seems to be dry enough to do a little bit of gel pen. And so I do a little bit in those flowers. I'm going to do some in her dress. And all I do is do little flicks, kind of over the flicks that I did in those flowers. And then in like the pleats of her dress. And really in person, it does give it a lot of wow. And I did gel pen on all the girls that I colored, all the Anyas, and I think they look really great with the gel pen. So I've got these little extra little leaves that I colored from that Tropical Leaves stamp set. And I'm kind of tucking them in that circle there. And just kind of tucking them in there just to give it a little extra something, because my little Anya is going to go kind of right in that area. I mean, all this stuff is going to kind of peek out, but she's kind of the main event. And so there she is right there. I put her on foam tape as well. And my sentiment, I believe I did Aloha as well for this one. And this one I used some hot pink ink to stamp my Aloha, and I used the die to go ahead and cut that out. And so you can see I'm doing a little bit of stickling. I'm doing kind of in the center of her flowers and those kind of little bows she has in her hair. I'm doing a little bit of stickles there. And so it just gives it a little extra, little something. And she's glittery and looks really, really cute. And in this case, I'm using diamond stickles, but there's quite a few different ones that are sort of clear with glitter in them. And then lastly, there is my tag where I used some ephemera and I used a scrap. So thank you.